Hi guys, welcome back to Farm Up. So previously we have talked about, minimizing the cost of your feed on the farm, or I would say having a profitable poultry farm without buying feed, which is 100% possible, but not most likely the way that you've been thinking about it. So if you've been thinking about it as having a profitable poultry farm using these alternative sources of feed, ideally we call them alternative sources of feed because they're not the conventional sources of feed, then most probably it's not going to come to life, because for a commercial farm to go that way, it's going to be very difficult. I mean, people have been trying to come up with inventions previously to bring the cost as much as possible below, and I mean, people do all kinds of research because, like I've said before, this is about 80% of your feed cost. It's going to be feed, or I would say 80% of your cost of running the farm is going to be feed. So why wouldn't you want to bring down the cost as low as possible? I mean, all the commercial companies, everyone has tried to put research into bringing that down as low as possible, and 100%. The way that you're going to be doing that is not using the alternative sources. So it's not using azolla, it's not using the black soldier fly larvae, it's not using mealworms, it's not using, fodder, it's not using all these things. Those things can work if you have 5-10 chickens at home. They're not going to work if you have 500, 1,000 chickens. 100% not possible, And I've made an entire video about that. If you haven't, checked it out, I'll leave a link to that video right here. But then if it is not possible, and it's not possible for you to go that route, then what is the more practical route? What should you be doing to bring your feed cost as low as possible on your farm while still remaining profitable? I mean, while still remaining in business and getting money and not having it completely break you down. So we're going to dive right into that. But before we dive right into that, I want to reiterate that feed is so important. It is so important. It's not like the only important thing when it does come to raising chickens, but just like you can see with the cost of at least 80% of running your farm, it shows you how such an important factor it is in the success and the general well-being of your farm. Because if your feed is not good, you're not going to have the results that you do require on the farm. Completely not going to have the results that you do require on the farm. So you need to make sure that you have good food. Now, good food doesn't equate to expensive food. Some people will go outside there and buy the most expensive food that they can get because they believe it is the good thing. And yes, it's true, a lot of times expensive is equal to good, but you can still get good but not expensive. And if someone does their marketing really well, they can sell you a really expensive product that's not good. That's going to be really unlikely though, because most probably then they won't be able to sell anything if it's not good at all. But you need to make sure that you bring your costs down. So you need to make a balance between bringing the costs of the thing that you're going to be using to feed your chickens down, and also ensuring that you get the correct nutrients for your chickens. So how are you going to be doing this? So there are different levels of you doing this when it does come to raising chickens and feeding your chickens. The very first level, and ideally it would be the cheapest level, but also you would require a lot of resources prior to that for you to do this, is by you growing your own chicken feed. Plain and simple. You just grow as many of the raw materials as possible. So if you do have a lot of land, 400 acres like we do right here on the farm, then that would be a great alternative. I mean, with 400 acres, if you don't have too many birds, you should be able to, for example, grow enough maize on the farm for you to feed the chickens that you do have. You should probably also be able to grow enough soya bean, grow some sunflower, and then you have then the core raw materials that you need to feed your chickens. So then what else would you need? Maybe maize bran, maybe limestone, maybe some other vitamins and minerals, maybe fish meal if you do want to add some of that. But you would have like the core thing that you do require for your farm. Then after that, you'd have to process it in one way or another. Now, I want to tell you personally that that's also not a very easy route to go with, because personally, I've tried it out on the farm here, and it really depends on where your farm is located and what you do have available to you. For me, where the farm is located, I do have the land, but first of all, the soils get really dry. So, I mean, we'll have rains, like for example, currently it's the rainy season, so we'll have rain. I mean, I don't know if you guys, if I can show it to you guys, but yeah, right besides me, right there, I do have maize. I mean, that's a maize garden, just outside the perimeter of the farm, That's a maize garden, and the maize is growing very nicely right now, but I mean, I'm still not certain if it will, you know, get to the point where it's supposed to get and give me great results, because if the rain just decides to disappear, our soil over here can become really, really hard, very hard, and in the end you end up getting nothing out of it. So I mean, it's still prayers. We're still praying and hoping that the rains continue and then we have great results in terms of our maize. So that is the very first factor. Yeah? The first factor is that, you know, you need to be in the correct place. That's number one. But number two, most likely you're going to need irrigation. Now, for me, the biggest problem here is that we don't have irrigation. Yeah, because we don't have irrigation, when the sun comes and we don't have, you know, enough water, then the maize just gets withered and it just disappears. Yeah. A while back, I planted maize at the bottom of the farm. That time, it just decided to flood. The area decided to flood, and you know, the maize just died. Yeah. So it's complicated. And even before, when I still just had just 1,000 birds, I tried it out with, you know, some land that I rented somewhere, just an acre. Planted maize, and I can tell you I invested more money into that land than what I actually got out from the maize. Yeah, I made a loss on that maize. So it can be really, really complicated. Just you having the land and having everything available doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a successful thing. Yeah, but if you can do it well, you have the equipment, you have everything, and you know, you spread the cost of the equipment, the land, you know, the things over a long time, then you'll notice that generally speaking, your cost is going to be much lower. That's alternative number one. But honestly speaking, a lot of people won't manage that. A lot of people won't be able to afford that. What is alternative number two? Alternative number two is simply buying pre-made raw materials and you just mix everything yourself. Plain and simple, yeah? That's a great alternative. Now, this one has different levels. There is the level where you can buy simply using, like, you just buy a small tiny premix that has like the minerals and things like that, and then you just buy all the rest of the raw materials. You know, your protein source, your energy source, your fats, your fiber, everything. You just go outside there and source it and buy it. I like this alternative because it is great, guys. It's really great because it ensures that, number one, you can minimize the cost of everything by sourcing from the cheapest source that you can, that gives you good enough quality. I mean, you need to pay attention to that because it's not sensible enough for you to just get cheap stuff but poor quality. So if you can get them on good quality but as cheap as possible, that would be a great alternative. Yeah, so go and buy the maize yourself, buy the maize bran yourself. If you can even just make the maize bran yourself, that would be a great alternative. Most times it's not a great alternative because the product of making maize bran is usually maize flour, and maize flour is really expensive. So I don't know, unless you're going to be selling it and you know it's another business for you and you're going to be selling it, it just doesn't make sense for you to use your entire maize just to make maize bran. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. So it's cheaper for you to buy it. That's option number two. Then, you know, maybe buy the soya cake, sunflower cake, you know, all the other raw materials that you're going to need to mix in the feed, and then you come and formulate them yourself. Yeah, so you come, formulate them, and I mean, formulating them is a bit complicated, yeah, really complicated. I mean, that's the most complicated bit of this option, of this alternative. Of course, even in alternative one, you'd have to at some point formulate it. So, I mean, this is the more complicated bit and requires a lot of knowledge and technical expertise and things like that. But I personally, on my farm, I've developed like, you know, an Excel spreadsheet where I just punch in numbers and things like that, and I do it myself. And you know, this is a great alternative. Yeah. Now, if you want to know a bit more about generally how to raise chickens and do great animal care, yeah, I've put a video. It's a free video in the description of this video. You can just go check it out. It will give you way more detail, even besides, you know, the feeding and things like that. Go and check it out. It's an awesome one. Trust me, you'll like it. Now, in addition to that, if you're not using premixes, then you have to use a concentrate. A concentrate is much easier, of course, a bit more expensive than just buying all the small raw materials and using a small premix. Just a bit more expensive. It gives you the advantage of not having to deal with the more complicated bit, which is usually the protein bit. And so you must probably just source the energy source and mix it with the feed, and that will be good. That's option, you know, number two. And then option number three is simply buying the mixed feed. Yeah, so you go outside there and buy mixed feed from the market. Yeah, now it's also an option, certainly the most expensive option on the alternatives, but I would rather you have that option than do the very first or the second option if you don't know how to do them. If you don't know how to mix the feed, you don't know how to use the formulas or to formulate the formulas, then don't waste your time, because I mean, they just won't work out for you. You'd rather go buy mixed feed and be sure that you're going to have at least a product in the end. The chickens are going to put on the weight, they're going to be giving you the eggs, and your margins might be minimal, but at least they're not nothing. Yeah. If you're going to be raising chickens and you're not giving them the food that they do require, you don't know how to mix the feed and everything like that, you're going to be in losses. The chickens won't put on the weight that they do require, yet you've spent money on all these raw materials and all these things, and then you're going to be making a loss. Yeah? So it is very important that you understand that if you're going to be going with the other routes, you need to have the technical knowledge, of the know-how of how to do it. If you don't, just go buy commercial feed. Yeah, that's the alternative. Just go buy the commercial feed. Now, if you're going to be buying the commercial feed, then the alternative is that you need to make sure that you raise your birds to the best quality, the best results, for them to give you the best output as much as possible. Yeah. For me personally, I try to make sure that my birds give me as much or as close to the target production as possible, and also as close to the target weight in terms of growth as possible. Yeah. If you're not getting that, then you're not doing a good job on the farm. You're not getting great results. Yeah. So that is the main path to you actually having a farm that is productive and giving you great results. And I mean, guys, I mean, a lot of research has been done into this. Like I've already told you, a lot of research has been done into this. No one wants to spend so much money on stuff that they can spend as less as possible on it. Yeah. A great hack that I tell you, and I think you can use and utilize, is have storage. Yeah, so invest in storage. So whether it's silos or just a small barn or a bigger house where you can store your feed, that would be a great investment. What that does is that then you can manage to buy these raw materials when the prices of the raw materials is as low as possible. Yeah, so for me personally, that's what I try to do. Buy raw materials, buy maize, buy maize bran. Maize bran you might not be able to keep for so long, because if you keep it for so long, it gets caked and all these issues, unless you're keeping it on the ground, for which most people don't have a lot of space. But if you do have the space, that's a great alternative. Yeah, so you buy that, you buy the soya cake, buy all these raw materials, keep them to utilize them when the price goes high. Yeah, that's a great way of you saving and actually having money available for you to keep as profit on the farm. That's way better than trying to utilize all these alternative sources of black soldier fly and all these things. Yeah, guys, those things won't work. Yeah? The other problem with them is that they're not consistent. There is no consistency with them. For example, with the black soldier flies, black soldier fly larvae will only give you the protein, or their protein concentrate will be dependent on what they feed on. Yeah. So for example, if they feed on cow dung, their protein content is going to be much lower compared if they feed on chicken droppings. You understand? So it's going to be very, very, very different in terms of the size. If they feed on like vegetable waste, their protein content is going to be much lower, because I mean they're feeding on vegetables. Yeah, that's all you have available. So you need to make sure that you're consistent with that. And I mean, chickens do require consistency. If the things are not consistent, you're going to have fluctuating results, and that's just not good for you. Yeah, you want consistency for you to have the great results. And with a lot of these alternative things, that's not something that you're going to be getting. Yeah, so this is how I personally believe you can minimize on your feed cost and still remain profitable on your farm. I hope you have enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, smash the notification bell. Catch you very soon with another video. Lots of love. Bye-bye.